Okay. Hello, everybody. That priest was so nice, wasn't he? Almost like a father. Kasumi was filling my ears with that nonsense during our way back to the apartment, and wouldn't stop even after we had arrived. He was a bit unreliable and weird, but didn't you feel some love? Boy, I was pretty envious myself. Not really. I felt love, if you get what I mean. Oh, hey, Saguaro, how are you doing? Cosme envying others and even calling someone a father? You didn't hear that every day. She lost her own father. As for me, I didn't have parents. So we kinda had this unspoken agreement not to bring the topic up. Well, hopefully this stream gives you some excitement, Saguaro. Cause I'm just gosh darn exhilarating. I'm like cocaine, except in human form. So we kind of had this unspoken agreement not to bring the topic up. What do you think, Ren? I found myself at a loss for words. Yeah, he seemed decent enough. I know, right? It felt a bit odd seeing Cosme smile as if she was talking about herself. Yeah, if I had to guess anyone in my chat who's a drug addict, you would be my first guess, Saguaro. So, that's why we're just so naturally compatible, you and I. Or maybe I was a jerk for being perplexed by it. Because you're a drug addict and I'm cocaine in human form? Or maybe I was the jerk for being this perplexed by it. Despite having no blood relation whatsoever, Himuro, Sister Lisa, and Father Trifa seemed like a genuine family, which was a wonderful thing, all things considered. No wonder Kazumi admired them. I was the weird one here. What, is something wrong? After reassuring her that I was just fine, I began to change my mind. This definitely didn't come up all that often, but if Kazumi wanted to discuss the topic, there was really no reason for me to object. After all, just like I'd told Father Trifa, I didn't feel a thing for my parents. Wait, are you starting to get homesick or something? A little, I guess. What about you? Do you want to meet my mom? Yeah, things have been kind of awkward with her ever since she tried to dress me in woman's clothing. Boy, do I wish my mother was that supportive. Ha ha ha, that did happen, didn't it? Yeah. I had no parents, no relatives either. I was taken in by a friend of my dad, Cosme's father, and so I'd been freeloading off the Ayase family ever since. In that sense, Cosme and I were more like brother and his older sister than childhood friends. She insisted it was the other way around, but after some serious consideration, I concluded I didn't need an older sister like that. Besides, my birthday came before hers. As for financial troubles, I'd been told that I had nothing to worry about thanks to my family's inheritance. With the exception of the minimum amount for living expenses, I could more or less use it as I saw fit. I was grateful to her family, Cosme included, of course. By the way, at one point my dad tried to officially adopt you when we were little. Mom seemed to be firmly against it though, so it kind of fell through. Why do you think that was? No clue. Heh. What? Smiling, Cosme drew her face closer to mine. Contrary to what I was expecting her to say though. If that happened, we wouldn't be able to get married, right? So bold. See, this is what we need in anime heroines. We need them to come straight up to us and say, "You, protagonist, do you want to get married?" And the protagonist, still being dense as a black hole because anime logic. I too would instantly fold Suwaro. But still, Ren's probably gonna say something like, "Oh, how annoying. God, I hate this perfect woman who obviously cares about me and has a huge crush on me. I deserve to go to hell." That's what Ren will probably say next. Boom. She dropped that bomb so hard I could almost literally hear it. Wait, isn't it okay to marry adopted siblings so long as they're at least 3 times removed from your side of the family? Really? You sure are well informed, Ren. Did you look that up? What was with that ungodly, wicked smile? My, Ren, why are you so well informed about it, hmm? It's in the realm of common knowledge. Unless you live in a place that has a high amount of incest. Not really. Which, sadly, I don't live that far from, actually. Is it now? Me and my mom sure didn't know. Hey, how did you know? There's plenty of manga dealing with that kind of stuff. Yeah, that's fair. I was reading a manga the other day and God. God incest is so goddamn weird. But Ren, you don't read manga all that much, do you? Kasumi began to sidle up to me like a slug. It was more off-putting than scary, honestly. We're engaged, aren't we? Right? Come on, say something. I gave her a karate chop on instinct. Ow. Ow, 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 ow. That hurt. What the hell gives? Quit inching up to me in such a creepy way, you Sheviant. Sheviant. That's my reaction. Sheviant, a woman who sexually harasses a man. Sheviant, ever brave and defiant, protector of love and peace. You okay in the head? Oh, shut up. And hands off my forehead. I don't have a fever. Besides, you always say this kind of stuff because you're embarrassed, don't you, you brat? Get a lobotomy, Twitsumi. Hey, that's the nickname I forbade you from using back when we were kids. Right back you, Renpen. Twitch. Renpen. Stop making me sound like some kind of cutesy mascot. Why are you so dishonest, Renpen? And why are you such an idiot? Say what? One stupid exchange after another, pointless conversations after pointless conversation, a worthless daily existence, cheap like garbage. A series of ever unchanging mundane events, the kind you'd have a hard time even remembering the next day. Why did I never reflect upon that day, that instant, more deeply? I was careless. I didn't take it seriously. I thought I understood that nothing lasted forever, that something being finite meant that its end could come at any time. That irreplaceable precious garbage of a daily life Renfuji wished to protect to the point of parting ways with his best friend came to an end that night. Now then, let the curtains rise on tonight's grand guignol. At first I couldn't understand what was going on. Huh? What happened to me? I was in my room just a few moments ago, so why was I suddenly all alone in a place like this? I glanced around my surroundings, the chaos in my mind never once subsiding. I was outside, no question about that. Was this some kind of prank? I didn't get so drunk that my memories blanked out, did I? That couldn't have been the case. What's going on? How did this happen? I didn't know. It wasn't that difficult to recall everything that had happened up until this point. I left the church, went home, took a bath, and went to bed. I might have had a chat with Kasumi too, but it probably wasn't anything important knowing her. Nothing that would have helped me hear it anyway. The last thing I remembered was going to bed. That was important. That was the important bit. It meant that this was all a dream, not reality. A dream? But even if I assumed that to be true, there was still something I couldn't quite explain. Why wasn't this that dream? Over the past few days, I'd been having the exact same dream of that twilight shore, the nightmare at the guillotine. True, if I never had that dream ever again, I could count myself lucky, but the sun change still left me feeling like something was off. The moon loomed high above, showering me with frozen blue light. I was alone, like a dancer in the spotlight. This was strange. Something felt off. Though I was conscious, I couldn't perceive anything. It was a vague floating feeling, like I was nothing more than an eyeball. That could be attributed to the nature of dreams, though. I couldn't control myself properly, although I could detect a dull pain hammering away at my brain. I still felt out of it to the point of wanting to throw up. I would have been hard-pressed to call it a very comfortable feeling. In other words, this really was yet another dream. The details of it might have changed, but it remained just as unpleasant as before. I began to stagger as I felt a sensation of intoxication wash over me. Actually, perhaps it would have been better to say I was already walking. I certainly wasn't doing it consciously, and the sensation of my feet pressing against the earth felt incredibly vague. All I had left was my vision and this faint, dull headache. And was this a heartbeat? It sounded like it was coming from far off, but I could definitely hear someone's heartbeat. It wasn't mine for some reason. That was all I knew, as well as the fact that it was slowed, yet steadily getting closer. A sharp burning pain flared up in my neck. The word pain didn't even begin to describe it. It felt like I was being strangled by a string of molten hot barbed wire, and as the pain grew more intense, so did the heartbeat draw closer and closer. A never-ceasing sound, the sensation of another heartbeat in the back of my head. What the hell was this? I was getting strangled. I couldn't breathe. The pain was only growing more and more intense. Succumbing to strangulation was all too easy. I could feel that thing biting into the flesh on my neck. I was trying to twist my neck. It was all too incomprehensible. What did I do to deserve this? Could it be that I was about to become the 8th victim? The abrupt pain, akin to having my very bones scraped off, made me let out a violent howl of agony. I wasn't bleeding, but I could tell that my neck and torso were being held together by nothing but one last bone. Creak, creak. I heard my bones being whittled down little by little. The other heartbeat in my skull, I could feel it being activated. I found myself assailed by a feeling of discomfort, unlike any I'd ever experienced before. Almost like I was a second skin being shed by another creature while I still lived. What? An ever so brief whisper echoed in my ears. I couldn't make out what it was saying, not a word. I'd already passed my threshold of pain and was being driven into a situation where all I wanted to do was writhe on the ground. I was in no condition to properly make out some ever audible noise of a voice. As the creaking in my neck grew ever more intense, my vision was abruptly cut off with the grace of a sudden blackout. A sound echoed across the darkness I found myself freshly enveloped by. Hurry, 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 hurry. The sound drilling into my skull began to merge with the noise, gradually transforming into something I could make out as human speech, a familiar requiem I'd heard somewhere before. Dies Irae, Dies Irae solvat saeculum in favilla, teste David cum sabilla. Quantus tremor es futurus, quando judex es venturus, sunta sicte discussurus. Tuba miram spargen sonum, per sepulchro reginum, colget omnes ante thronum. Mors stupet et natura, cum resurge creatura, judicante responsura. Liber scriptus profeter, in quo totum continenter, onde mundus judicer. I am butchering this Latin, probably. Judex ero cum sed debit, sequid latit apparevit, nil in nultum remanebit. Quid sum miser tunc dicturas, quam patronas rogaturas, cum vix justus sit securas. Rex tremende majestatis, qui salvandos salves gratis, salva me fons pitatis. Recordar Jesu P, quod sum casa turvi, ne me perdas illa di. Nope. Look, I'd love to flex my horrible Latin off to you. Oh, who am I kidding? I've got the time. Quaren me se disti lasses, redemisti crucem passus, tantus labor non sit cassus, juste judex ultinis is donum fac reminiscenis, ante diem rationis, ig ingeni, ingeni, ingemisco tanquam reas, culpa rubit voltus meas, supplicanti parce deas, mimaram absolvisti, es latronem exodisti, mihi queque spem dedisti, presse me non sunt digne, sed tu bonus fac begni ne perenni cremer igne, inter oves locum preste, et ab hodis mi sequestra, statuens in parte dextra, confutatis maledictus, flammas autus addictus, voca me cum benedictus, oro suplex et acclinis, cor contrinum quasi sinis, gere coram me finis. My skull was split, my head severed. Yeah, mine too. I want to apologize to the Latin community. I probably said a slur. Yeah, Themos, they were making us read Latin. Because, I don't know why they would make me read the... Actually, I do know. The title of the game is literally Dies Irae, which translates to Day of Wrath in Latin. God, I hope I didn't say anything bad in Latin. If I cursed anyone's mother, I didn't mean to. The string of unintelligible words that poured forth from within jolted through my mind, robbing it of sanity. To oppose the raging stream of my pain, I let go of the hand known as the axis of reason desperately clinging to me. And thus my head was severed. The world had turned inside out. There was no pain, no nausea. That feeling of intoxication began to fade, as all my senses, sight and hearing included, were completely restored. As everything from the neck up had been replaced, it would only be natural for the previous head's discomfort to vanish as well. A myriad sensation, all strange, sharpened to the limit, and although there was a distinct sense of aloofness and ambiguity in its operation, the head had the body under control. Its movements remained stiff, a sway of the ego perhaps, yet Ren Fuji's influence was already but an insignificant speck of dust, hardly even worth viewing as a problem. It would soon grow accustomed to it. It knew him better than anyone, guaranteeing utmost affinity. The two of them were as caduceus. 2 in 1, two sides of the same coin, yin and yang. Ah, how truly romantic. What would man call this, if not the red string of fate itself? The head began to cackle, its body staggering onwards with the unsteady step of a sleepwalker. Where to? That hardly needed to be said. To its prey. The hunter cared not who ended up slaughtered. It could have even been a cat or a dog for all it cared, so long as the prey had blood, life, and was worthy to be cut down. The hunter did not discriminate. All it needed was a victim large enough to be fit for a massacre to help satisfy these welling destructive urges. Had there been a zoo nearby, an elephant or a giraffe would have likely sufficed. However, that was not the case. As such, it needed to hunt for something else. Something that hardly needed to be explained, indeed. Humans. Excuse me. A voice came pouring out. If you don't mind, could you accompany me to the park entrance? I'm scared. Startled, a woman in her mid-20s turned around. Her gaudy makeup and suit left quite the impression, pointing towards a career in perhaps the nighttime entertainment business. The head continued to speak. I got separated from my friends. I called them and they said they'd be waiting by the entrance, so I should hurry over. Seriously, can you believe them? It produced a smile, all to calm itself, to coach, to persuade its preferred target. Is it too much of a bother? In times like this, presenting a soft, kind, and gentle expression worked as the most effective cover. The woman made a troubled smile, but ultimately agreed to the head's request. Despite voicing a grumble or two, her voice rang with a hint of relief. She was probably frightened. Ah, what an idiot. Just as the head formulated that thought. Not even the assailant themselves could tell or remember which direction it came from. All they saw was the lightning-fast swoop of the blade. Its afterimage burned into their eyes. The woman was decapitated, her head sent flying into the air. It didn't end there. Her torso was sliced into 5 pieces before the head even hit the ground. She displayed not a shred of resistance. The act seemed a magic trick of sorts, but one that could never be undone. The woman's body split into pieces, her various parts scattered like falling Jenga blocks. The freshly severed head fell on the still spinning hand with a thump, the same somewhat stiff smile eternally frozen on its lips. It then bounced into the air one more time, before being sliced in two right down the middle. The woman's face split open, scattered blood and brain as it burst like cheap fireworks. Heh, ha ha ha! A fierce cackle reverberated in the area, piercing the very heavens. Ah ha ha! Ah ha! Ah ha! Ah ha! Ah ha! Its spine creaked, perhaps due to joy, dread, or a mix of both. The creeping sensation of a myriad crawling worms shook its jaw, never once stopping. Ha 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 ha! Ah ha! Ah ha 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 ha! Ah ha 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 ha! The hunter's fit of laughter failed to cease, a multitude of thoughts diffusing throughout its head. A feeling akin to the taste of cheap drugs, a gut-wrenching wave of chaotic, psychedelic tension, wonderful beyond description. It felt so good everything from the head up switched on its own. Whoosh. 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 The world itself flashed like a strobe light at the neck-breakingly fast switch. To get a clear idea of what that felt like, one had simply to take a roller coaster, a free fall, and whatever they called that spinning coffee cup ride thing, and put them all together. The thrill of murder, the joy of robbing one of life, the intoxication of absolute carnage seeping into the very core of the hunter's being. The lamps and garbage cans within 10 meters had split apart, much like the woman. Met with its own sheer over-enthusiasm, the hunter laughed. As such, it wanted, it yearned to play a while long. Alas, you mustn't. It would appear they have caught wind of this. The world shut down with a click. Not unlike death, like that woman from a moment before, whose very existence was denied and expunged. Like that dream of being beheaded by a guillotine, that exact same sensation. Ah, so this was yet another dream. Sleep, do not awaken. You must not wake up. Now then, the beast approach. Retreat or advance. Make your choice. And so, after God knows how much time, I finally came to my senses, only to find myself gazing up at the moon. The round, perfectly circular shape of the moon. Like a hole bored into the sky, the cold night air sent a shiver down my spine, feeling almost like it came pouring out from that very hole. Where was I? And what was I doing here all by myself? I didn't really know, nor did I remember anything, for that matter. All I recalled was falling on my ass and spacing out like some idiot. Right, I had a dream. I couldn't recall all the details, but I knew it was quite the unpleasant, ominous, and terrifying, or perhaps enjoyable dream. At least, that was what it felt like. Why had I been staring at the moon this whole time without budging my eyes or my body? How odd of me to fixate on that. It wasn't like I really wanted to look at the moon, but it seemed to attract me precisely because I didn't want to see that. The moon was simply a convenient distraction. Almost as if I was unconsciously clinging to it, trying to escape my surroundings. Why was something like that here? I didn't want to think about why this wet, sticky liquid on the ground was there. I finally looked down. My gaze fell upon a sea of blood, as well as chunks of meat and excrement that seemed like they were chucked out of a bucket. Remains of a human body lay scattered as far as the eye could see, mutilated beyond recognition. Arm severed at the elbow, legs still standing up from the shins down, a torso cut in round slices with the intestines spilling out like spaghetti. And just as I had feared, the body itself had nothing from the neck up. A woman's head, cleaved vertically, floated in the middle of the puddle of blood, facing the ground, eyes fixated on me in a glare. Gah! White bone, pink entrails, yellow fat, red muscles, gray brain, dull eyes, light brown hair. The putrid stench of blood and death lingered around those grisly remains, even emitting steam in the cold night air, violating my nasal cavities with merciless intensity. What was all this doing here? I felt like a complete fucking idiot for only thinking about this now. I could remember, though only partially, what this body used to look like, the kind of face it made, as well as how she was killed. If I had a nickel for every time I played a visual novel where a high school student brutally murdered a woman for no reason, I'd have 2 nickels. Which isn't a lot, but it's weird that it happened twice. Gah. Ugh. I vomited with enough force to make me feel like my innards were being turned inside out. Ugh. Gah. Ugh. The smell of vomit mixed in with the stench of blood. My stomach cramped under the wintry moonlight, no doubt a result of the blood that looked like a veil of crimson mist. This wasn't a dream. This wasn't a dream. This wasn't a dream. This wasn't a dream. This cold, this head, this stench, these images. They were all... Did I do this? Didn't you? What? I felt completely shocked, more by the action I took rather than the abrupt voice that prompted me to do it. Just how many meters did I jump back despite being on all fours? Oh, a man I'd never seen before greeted me with a jovial smile. If he was standing where I'd been a moment ago, it meant that I must have jumped back about 10 meters. Good reaction, kid. The man spoke up in a calm voice, paying no heed to the mutilated corpse by his feet. He clearly harbored not a shred of respect for the dead, casually trampling on the woman's sliced face like it was no more than an empty can. Ah. Seeing that, a difficult to describe chill rushed through my entire body. The beast approached. Didn't someone say that moments before I regained consciousness? Ugh. This was bad, really bad. Nerve cells all throughout my body began to sound their equivalent of an emergency siren, blowing clean away all trivial bafflements that came with seeing a dead body, killing someone, or wondering what I was even doing here in the first place. Before me towered a colossal threat. It would have been simple to identify it as a beast of prey. No, a better way to describe it would have been an otherworldly kind of pressure, the dread of some mysterious, inhuman abomination. Such an abruptly materialized source of pure wickedness evicted all potential thoughts from my mind. This guy was not normal. He was not human. Hey, say something, kid. I'm being all considerate here by using words even subhuman filth can understand. You ain't some mute motherfucker, are you? This man took a step towards me. The emergency alarms in my mind proceeded to kick it up a notch. It was a hunch similar to base instinct. It was telling me to run. Otherwise, I would be devoured. My body moved unconsciously. I jumped back just as far as I did earlier, no, even faster than that, with the intention of getting out of here right away. However, boo! That attempt was blocked by a woman standing behind me. This was getting ridiculous. I poured all I had into fleeing this vicious sink-or-swim situation. Even if there were any obstacles, I had enough force to mow down pretty much anything in my path. So why? Hey, where do you think you're going? Why couldn't I break through this fragile-looking woman? How the hell was she holding me down with arms that should have honestly broken like a frail twig the moment I hit her? All she did was place her hand lightly upon my chest, yet that alone rendered me completely paralyzed. Gah. I felt an unbelievably heavy pressure, almost like there was over 100 people packed beneath her skin. Bae, listen. This kid's interesting. He's actually trying to fight my Naseher. Oh, really? Smirking, the pale man shifted his gaze to look at me, his scoff ridiculing my pointless attempt at trying to escape him. A hopelessly terrifying sense of sheer inhumanity, abnormality to the point of being laughable. These two were just like that. They killed people without any display of humanity, devouring others to escalate themselves to a position transcending mankind. Is that Zarathustra? You still look rather lacking for Mercurius' substitute. What's the plan, Malleus? Do we play around with him? Good point. We should strike while the iron's... How did it go again? I think it was a proverb of this country. My thoughts were reduced to a jumble just by having them near me. I felt like I could pass out any second now. I could smell an unnatural, dense mixture of blood, death, and decay. I was this close to losing it. Simply being in the center of their attention was going to crush me if this kept going. What are... Anyways, I had to do something. Even if my body was paralyzed, I needed to at least speak up so I could free myself from their grip. You people, what do you want with me? Huh? Wow, props to you. You can talk. And here I thought you'd at least faint, just like any normal human. But not only are you conscious, you can actually talk, huh? Wow, I'm getting chills, leaving my chest. The woman's fingers slid up to my neck. Were you the one who did that? She referred to the mutilated corpse of the woman lying scattered on the pavement, asking me if I was responsible. A rather sloppy job, not clean at all. The guy I knew at the very least wasn't into that kind of stuff. Not a single one of us know what Mercurius's Anharabe is. Oh, wait, no. Ananerba. So we can't tell from just that alone. Are you his substitute? If he is, does that bastard's Ananerba resemble this too? What the hell were these guys talking about? It sounded like gibberish to me. Fun fact for those of you who are curious. The Ananerba, it actually isn't an item. It was basically the Nazis, like, it was their organization for, like, finding evidence of, like, what was their, like, master race called? Fuck, what was their name again? Either ways, it was basically, like, trying to find, like, the true history, in quotation marks, of the world. They found nothing, by the way. The Ananerba, it was all propaganda. What the hell were these guys talking about? It all sounded like gibberish to me. Besides, I don't know. Did I really kill someone here? There was a body right in front of me. I retained memories of the moment of her death. Well, was that really me? I was neither trying to flee from reality nor attempting to shift the blame. Rather, I've never thought of killing someone. I saw it, I did, but I couldn't say for certain I was the one who did it when I gave that answer. Ha! Ha ha. Maniacal laughter poured out from the two like water from a broken faucet. Their sneers like a lump of malice. An aggregation of discord that threatened to drive one mad, to destroy one's sanity just by listening. Its sheer wretchedness made me sick. Theirs was no laugh of any ordinary human. That much I could attest to with certainty. Heh gotcha, so it wasn't you, huh? That's right. Yeah, of course it wasn't. Man, this is a fucking riot. The man walked right up to me, his shoulders still trembling from laughter. His eyes betrayed no sense of laughter, though. I got goosebumps all over. God, this is a pain. Let's just see how your body responds. His simple kick to my stomach sent me flying like a piece of cardboard. What the hell? That seemingly light kick nearly killed me. I must have broken half my ribs. Hey. Looks like I'm going to ask you one more time. He stomped on my left shoulder right as I attempted to sit up, causing my joints to break with a creaking sound. What's your Ananerba? How are you connected to that shitbag Mercurius? My vision flickered from the pain. I couldn't even scream. By contrast, the man's voice remained endlessly frivolous. Well, come on now. Keep on crunching. The thing is, I'm not all that good at torture. If you don't cup it up while I'm dealing with you, I'll have that dumb woman there take over. She's a real pro at this. Now that's a little rude. Who are you calling dumb? Fine then, I'm not helping you. Try doing delicate work yourself for a change. So long as you leave the head, we should be able to manage somehow. True enough. Gah. It broke, or perhaps it was dislocated. I couldn't move my left arm from the shoulder down. God damn it. I grabbed the man's ankle with my right hand out of pure reflex. I attempted pouring as much strength into my grip as possible, but he wasn't budging an inch. Hey, don't fucking touch me. You're making me sick. Seriously, the man lifted me up in the air using only his leg, then connected into a spin kick without missing a beat. It was enough to send me flying 7 or 8 meters to the fence overlooking the water. This was no laughing matter. He was seriously going to kill me if this kept up. I had to do something to get away. How about taking a dive into the sea? We'll probably just end up drowning in that state. But well, go ahead and try whatever you want. His tone mocked me, like he had just read my mind. He was right, though. That wouldn't do me any good. Then what else was I to? Hey, don't give me that lukewarm reaction. Gotta applaud your acting chops for playing dumb, but I'm not exactly known for my patience. Tease me for too long and I might end up accidentally killing you. Last chance. What's your Ananerba? The man's kick crashed into the iron fence beside me, bending its bars in the process. I remained silent. What else was I gonna do? How was I supposed to reply when I had no answer to give him? Yeah, this is karmic justice for the way he treats Kasumi. That's just how the world works. Was I going to die here? Crushed without rhyme or reason in a situation beyond my comprehension? I didn't want that. No, I was going to accept an outcome like that. I felt it meaningless to explain and justify myself to an opponent I couldn't reason with. Likewise, I couldn't just run away from him either. Then what was I to do? Words and running wouldn't do me any good. So what other method would help me break through the deadlock of this irrational, unreasonable situation? Well, too bad, kid. Time's up. A color of boredom seeped into the man's tone as he threw a fierce punch my way, almost as if to say he was done playing torturer. His bloodlust was near palpable. I felt death itself approaching. I could instinctively tell that I would die the moment that fish crashed into me. I no longer had any other choice. I saw a body earlier. Maybe I was the one who killed her, or maybe I wasn't. Regardless of the truth, that horrific image had been permanently burned into my retina, refusing to leave. As such, I had but one thing on my mind, that I did not wish to end up that way. A selfish, greedy, and wretched attachment to life. That alone steeled my conviction, making it fiercer than anything else. Like hell I'd be killed, like hell I'd be broken here. I had to move, dodge, struggle. If I wanted to live, if I wished to avoid death, I had but one thing to do. Because I was not supposed to die in a place like this, to begin with. Found it in yourself to act. In that case, allow me to give you some advice. Out of all the current fangs, that man Bay is among the fiercest. Struggle all you wish, but mortal skills alone shan't defeat him. Well, what do you know? The man's arms pierced a bench, the iron fence, and even part of the pavement. Drawing it back, he flashed a smile. After rolling away from him to gain some distance, I rose back onto my feet. How shall you proceed, Zarathustra? Shall you acquire my Evocite and test its prowess on him? Should you retreat or advance? I implore you to bless me with the light of the unforeseen. I felt my head pounding, making me think I was about ready to faint at any moment. My semicircular canal rang from the shock like an explosion that happened right next to me, knocking off my sense of balance. But I dodged it. The force of that punch, as well as the ones before it, were no laughing matter, yet they weren't fast enough to make dodging them completely impossible. So long as I kept myself from freezing in terror, I could manage. Now that things had come to this, that was all I could do. Heh, now this is more like it. The ivory man of white hair faced me again with a smirk decorating his lips. He would likely kill me in an instant if I tried to make a run for it, which meant that my best chance here was to try and create an opening. I was hurting all over, but this still paled in comparison to my fight with Shiro. It was hardly impossible. I had to fight, and successfully break through. It was the only way. Very well, then act according to your heart's desire, should you deem it necessary to determine the difference between your strengths. Hey, Malleus, I'm gonna waste this guy. You don't mind, do ya? You wouldn't listen to me even if I said I did, would you? Fine, go ahead. This is always how you've been. But like I said earlier, leave his head behind, right? Well, I'll handle him real careful-like. The man approached me with a faint smirk. If he really planned to pick a fight, then victory should go to the one who struck first. Hold on a minute. If you're gonna fight, you need to show a bit more motivation, like, oh, I know. The woman interrupted before I could make my first move, and her words caused my thoughts of taking the initiative fly right out the window. You were at the church just until a little while ago tonight, weren't you? What? Wait, he was? Yep, which simplifies things. Wait, what were they saying? I'll make sure you don't try to run away or pull a fast one, so be sure to try harder when you two fight to the death. You seem rather insensitive to your own pain, so I figured something like this would serve to light a fire in you better. Was I wrong? I get it. In my mind, I begged them to stop smiling like that. The way they smiled, even an idiot could figure out their true intentions. I couldn't help but feel bothered by the way she mentioned my presence at the church, almost like she'd heard about it from someone, as opposed to directly seeing it herself, but those worries soon became meaningless. I turned pale in an instant. Fear and uneasiness simultaneously sent shivers down my spine. I went there with Kasumi. I went there to see Himuro. I talked to them. It was fun, a good memory. I could still recall it quite well. So, how dare these otherworldly fucks talk about it like it happened on the same planet? If you run away, that smirking woman's voice was grating to the ears. I had to silence it, no matter what it took. I couldn't allow her to say the rest. I'll massacre your friends. Are we clear? The moment she said that, I rushed forward before I could even think. My sense of balance still felt off to the point where I didn't think I could run straight. Despite that, I launched the equivalent of a suicide attack. I was scared beyond words. The thought of what they'd do if I let them go was nigh unbearable. So I dashed towards them, emptying my mind. I let out no roar, no shout, not even a weep. All I did was charge mechanically forward. That was. Whoa now, hold on. You're all bravado now, but seriously, all from getting worked up over a woman's threat? I'm disappointed. The fuck kind of pissin' are you? My suicide charge had been halted with little to no effort. He grabbed me by the neck, preventing me from moving forward. I could tell that he needed to squeeze a little bit harder to snap it, but I couldn't back down. A chill somewhat different from what I experienced earlier rushed up my spine. I gritted my teeth and clenched my fist. My whole body was trembling. This was rage. Fear of the horrible things these psychos would do if I didn't stop them here. Well, if you no longer want to flee, I might as well give you a little something too. Interrogation time's over. From this point on, we'll talk without words. Show me your power. Power? Don't worry. I'll go easy on you. I won't summon my weapon. I'll only use one hand, so go ahead and use whatever you like. Guns, knives, telekinesis, or spells. Anything will do. Regardless of who you really are, the point is to see whether or not you can keep me entertained. I had nothing to do for ages, and screw waiting, I've had enough of boring shit shows. I'm telling you, this is your last chance. If it turns out you're just wasting away, making me give all these concessions to you. He drew me close to him, uttering the following like it was nothing. I'll wipe the city clean off the map. I felt dizziness taking its hold of me. My throat turned so raspy I had trouble properly breathing. I had no idea why all this was happening, or why these insane bastards were here. But there was one thing I did know. This guy was serious. If I made a single mistake in how I acted here, he'd likely make good on his word. And he could probably pull it off, too. He would thoroughly, undoubtedly, mercilessly, unsparingly, and heartlessly pulverize, reap, kill, and destroy every single thing here, laughing merrily all the while. The mundane, everyday life I held so dear being rapidly painted over by the unknown. I was sure of it. So, I had to fight. That's right. Huh? I was not interested in anything that fell outside the boundaries of the known. I had to fight now. Therefore, I had nothing to hesitate over. After crashing my fist into the man's face, I used the recoil to leap backwards. As a result of forcefully prying myself free from his grip, my neck skin was torn. My arteries seemed to be intact, but all the bleeding left me concerned. On top of that... Hello, Log. How are you doing today? Gah, my fist hurt like absolute hell. That punch shattered the bone in my right hand to bits. It felt like I was punching a block of stone, but... The hell was that supposed to be? You sure you're really into this? Not only was he not blown back, he hadn't even budged at all from where he stood. The unnatural density of his existence hadn't even wavered in the slightest from my attack. But that was why I couldn't leave a man like him on his own, to his own devices. I could never, ever allow this scumbag to lay a hand on Kasumi or Himuro. Bae, I'm sure you know this, but... I'll lay off, Malleus. I'm the one who's been appointed here. Oh, that's great. What type of shoes did you have? The man blew off his companion with what sounded like a sarcastic chortle, almost like he was toying around with a small fry. His face remained completely free from bruises, although it hit him hard enough to shatter my own fist. Fun fact, chortle is not a word. It was made up by Lewis Carroll. This guy was clearly a monster. His power far eclipsed mine. I wouldn't have even a snowball's chance in hell to beat him in a straight-up fight. In fact, I began to question if all this constituted a fight to begin with. Even so. Gah. I pushed my dislocated left shoulder back in place and gave my shattered right fist a forceful twist to fix it. I then thrust a piece of nearby wood into my sleepy leg to wake it up. I wouldn't retreat. I'd grown fond of the world around me. That included this entire city, the one with Kasumi Himuro, Sister Lisa, Father Trefa, and all those guys at school whose names I didn't know. Fair enough, but I do whatever it took to preserve it. I didn't need stuff I wasn't familiar with. I wanted nothing to do with the unforeseen and the unpredictable. Unlike Shira, I hadn't the slightest interest in trying all the options. I didn't mind if my life ended up as a boring straight line, which meant that these freaks were in the way. How dare these scumbags invade my story? They needed to get the hell back to their own genre. In other words, a life ruled by foreknowledge, such as yours. What was that? A thought resembling static jolted through my head for a moment, but I needed to keep it out of my mind. I had to focus on what was right in front of me. Luckily, the woman decided not to interfere. I could only hope she would stay at the sidelines, as turning this confrontation into a 2-on-1 fight was pretty much the last thing I wanted. As for the rest, I had to do whatever it took to get the better of this man. Even if I couldn't beat him head on, there had to be another way. We were both fighting hand to hand, no weapons, but the scale of the violence he wielded crossed mine to the extent it made me want to laugh. In that sense, that last punch was a failure. With my right fist shattered, screwing up was no longer an option. Allowing my emotions to guide my decisions could very well prove to be fatal. I needed to calm down. This wasn't my first life or death brawl, anyways. No need to panic. I had to carefully probe his weaknesses, then crush them. Like his eyes or his joints, though he might have been a monster, as long as he resembled a human in appearance, he had to have vitals. Even if worse come to worse, and all my attempts failed, I still needed to keep Kasumi and Himuro safe. This guy, he's Wilhelm. He is one of the magical Nazis, and he showed up to beat up our main protagonist. We don't know why he's beating up our main protagonist. Though, the pink-haired girl, she's calling him Bay, and he's calling our main character Zarathustra. We don't know why, though. You ready to rumble? The ivory demon cracked his knuckles as he leveled his gaze with mine. His glare made me dizzy, but this wasn't the time to be intimidated. Number 4 of the Longinus Dres and Ordens Obsidian Round Table, Wilhelm Ehrenberg, Kaziklu Bey. Hey, state your name, kid. Don't you know anything about proper manners on the battlefield? Yep. Demos, I couldn't sum it up better myself. He's a magical, soul-sucking Nazi. Hate to break it to you, but I don't. I didn't feel like revealing a single piece of information pertaining to my identity. Want to know my name? Then beat it out of me, you albino bastard. That's more like it. The man cut through the air as he approached me, letting out a beast-like roar in the process. He launched his right palm, rather his claw, forward. I twisted my body with enough force to wrench my torso off, evading the attack. Gah. The slightest graze of his attack was enough to completely tear my clothes at the chest level. Not only that, the lamp behind me was also crushed and snapped in two. His prowess was inhuman, no other way to put it. If I'd taken that thing head on, he probably would have knocked away my innards with one strike. Ha ha ha. The man howled with laughter. If he wanted to pulverize me, he could have easily done it. He was deliberately avoiding just that, instead enjoying watching me jump back as I put some distance between us. Whether he was underestimating me or just messing around, it proved to be quite convenient. I had to find an opening before he got serious. Wow, now this is a surprise. This makes 2 dodges in a row, huh? I don't think I held back to the extent an amateur could do that. Have I lost my touch, or are you actually tougher than you show, huh? You don't look like you're particularly experienced, but I see it. Oh man, that son of a bitch has really done it now. Listen here, the next one's gonna be just a little bit faster. So try not to die like a bitch. Wilhelm slowly approached in an oddly relaxed pose as the words left his lips. None of his movements were elegant enough to be called martial arts. His strikes were just absurdly fast and unnaturally heavy hitting. He moved as a pure, undiluted tornado of raw violence, against which techniques learned through effort held no meaning whatsoever. No practice, no training. Even if you killed 100 imaginary enemies, they were still imaginary at the end of the day. Actual combat experience meant everything. Brute force was a display of arrogance, particularly those who had been strong from the get-go, as if to say that improvement through dedication remained the privilege of the weak. I knew guys like that very well. This wasn't the first time I'd scuffled with that sort. Dodging was a death wish waiting to happen. I got a punch that barely missed, gouging out my sternum and heart under my armpit, locking it and locked it up. I then used the force of his charge against him and leaned back far enough to break his arm. My speed and timing were perfect. I launched a superb counter, the kind I probably wouldn't ever be able to replicate. It would be a miraculous turnabout, a complete upset I poured my very heart and soul into. However, well, forget broken. His arm hadn't yielded an inch. Our physiques might have been similar, yet this bastard remained completely unaffected. Impossible. How'd he do that? So I give you a perfect opportunity, and this is all you got? Fuck me, what a disappointment. I shifted my force right into performing an overhead throw, kicking him right in the crotch. If I failed with his joints, I'd crush him at his most vulnerable spot instead. Not even our difference in physical strength would have mattered with this attack. Instead, my leg was crunched with a clenching sound, sending a wave of chills up my spine. Literal balls of steel. No way. That had to be seriously impossible. What the hell was this guy's body made of? What's wrong? That all you got? Come on, show me what you're made of. Gah, gah. And then immediately followed it up with an uppercut that felt like it was about to mow down my whole face. It was powerful enough to blow me away, but it didn't kill me. I felt intense nausea welling up from the impact, rattling my brain. Gah, gah. It hurt. It hurt like hell. God damn it. Guarding that ended up breaking both my arms. Vomiting blood, I collapsed on the pavement, trying to confirm the damage my body had sustained. Both hands, one leg, and my broken rib had injured my internal organs. Fucking great. It felt almost like a repeat of what happened 2 months ago. I'd just gotten out of the hospital, only to be beaten half to death again. But all these similarities meant that I'd experienced these kind of injuries and pain before. Not yet. I could still stand. I could do this. I was not scared. Wilhelm regarded me with a sneer as I continued to writhe on the ground. Naturally, he had remained completely unscathed. He exuded demonic aura resembling a heat haze, his eyes gleaming with the thrill of a predator closing in on its prey. He would soon act. True to his word, he only used one hand for his attacks. Despite that, it remained inhumanly fast. Gah. And each one of them held lethal power. Defense was not an option. His strikes were a merciless whirlwind of death that tore up my skin and sent my blood spraying out after a mere graze. I couldn't keep dodging them forever. His one-handed multi-angle attacks, a demonstration of his enormous superhuman power, seemed to ignore the very laws of physics. And they were gradually getting faster. They sped up with each one I dodged, seemingly testing my limits. I could no longer follow their trajectory with my eyes. As such, intuition remained the only thing I could rely on, the kind of instinct that manifested itself upon the precipice between life and death. But in the end, that too became weaker and weaker. Suddenly, Wilhelm's arm stretched to an unbelievable length. It was several times faster than the fixed acceleration tempo of punches he'd been going by up until. Gah! It was only by pure luck that I managed to avoid a direct hit. My broken right leg couldn't support its own weight, causing me to fall. As a result, I cheated death. Looks like Lady Luck hadn't forsaken me just yet, however. The pain I felt when moving with my ribs broken was intense enough to threaten knocking me out. At this rate, they might end up puncturing my lungs in the process. The biggest problem I faced, however, was Wilhelm. Smirking as he waited for me to stand up, I couldn't find a way to deal with him. The speed of his seemed like it was beginning to surpass the limits of human kinetic vision and reflexes. He was probably only just getting started, too. At this rate, I could probably only hope for another 1 or 2 miraculous dodges. On top of that, none of my attacks had any effect on him. At the very least, I'd been made keenly aware that physical blows would do no good against him. Then, leaning against a nearby tree, I rose back to my feet. With my limbs broken, I need to secure a new weapon. I resolved myself. Well, well. Wilhelm's bloodlust exploded. He must have predicted what I was about to do. Yeah. He intended to kill me. As such, I couldn't fight him unless I was resolved to do the same to him. I used the tree as a shield in order to block a hit from the bastard that would have otherwise blown my head clean off. Taking the brunt of his blow, the tree splintered into several pieces with a crunch. Wilhelm displayed incredible destructive power for sure, but I was counting on exactly that. I instantly picked something suitable as a weapon out of the numerous splinters soaring through the air. In short, I found myself in an improvised state. As I couldn't catch it with my broken hands, I instead used my left leg, the only intact limb I still had. I performed a so-called wheel kick, lining my heel up with a stake to aim for Wilhelm's throat. I drove the stake down with clear intent to kill. I didn't want to be a murderer, but I'd die otherwise. I had no choice, and so my merciless and unrehearsed acrobatic stunt miraculously succeeded. And yet, aha! All I heard was a mocking scoff. Wilhelm once again took my attack head-on without dodging it. Not only did the stake fail to pierce him, the tip had been crushed to pieces. I couldn't believe my eyes. Seriously, what kind of body did this guy have? How could it not pierce him at the thinnest part of his... Shit, I had to dodge. My reckless dodge in this critical situation ended up resulting in further damage to my own body. That one might have turned my left Achilles tendon. Several pieces of the shattered stake were piercing through my heel. This had to be some sort of sick joke. Was I going to die after having come this far? I had no idea why, but this guy's tenacity was absurd. I could only speculate that he had no vital or weak points to begin with. Then just how would I win? Man, I really don't get it. Is that really all you've got? You're not dumb enough to hope you can get out of this just because you can stand against a schoolboy or two, are you? The world would be a lot simpler if losing your shit was enough to win a fight. That only works for real lunatics like Schreiber, and I can tell you ain't like him. Or, is this the so-called kamikaze mentality you people have? You not saying that word make no sense. As usual, if willpower alone could net you a victory, you guys wouldn't have lost the war. You didn't need to tell me. I knew that painfully well. What I needed now was a physical way to win. Striking during openings, coming up with plans, or dealing damage through straight-up methods wouldn't help me here. I couldn't use violence within the boundaries of common sense to defeat someone who existed outside of it, not to mention how he was toying with me while calmly gauging my battle prowess. Even if I couldn't find some way to beat him, he'd most likely counter it in an instant. But even so, I couldn't just... Man, you really do piss me off. You're not nearly terrifying enough. You ain't got the eyes of someone who's about to die. Is it because dying feels too surreal in this age and country as lukewarm as this? Nah, that's not it. I remember those eyes. They remind me of that goddamn son of a bitch. A gaze that screams he already knows everything in advance. Wilhelm grumbled to himself, his gaze practically shooting icicles in my directions. Ugh. Suddenly I felt like that stare of his was robbing me of my body heat. I found my body simultaneously assaulted by a sickening combination of nausea, intoxication, and itchiness. Gah. I could neither breathe or blink. Hell, I couldn't even lift a finger. My strength had been drained, as if my life force was being siphoned out. In the blink of an eye, the blood pouring from my wounds began to evaporate. The fuck are you actually... I felt convinced that it wasn't my fate to die here today. Ha. In a complete turnabout, Wilhelm sounded a cackle, seemingly amused by something. His shoulders trembled violently as he attempted to hold it in, yet he ultimately erupted into booming laughter, unable to contain himself. Now this party's getting started. Not even the dark of Wilhelm's sunglasses could hide the fact that his eyes glowed a bright hue of red. A demonic aura powerful enough to manifest as a physical force proceeded to beat down my whole body with the rage of a squall. Right now, my resolve was the only thing keeping my fleeting consciousness intact. Had I been mentally defenseless when I took that stare head on, it would have been enough to instantly kill me. This is great. Fucking great, I'm telling you. Oh, you make my blood boil, you little sack of shit. You believe that sorry fucking excuse for a theory? Don't make me laugh, you filth. Know your place. Ah, now that's what I'm talking about. This is the stuff. I'm so fucking excited I can't take it. I'll skewer you, tear you apart, rip you into shreds, hang you up, expose your intestines, and drain you. His cry was an eruption of undiluted, unmistakable ecstasy. The man before me found himself both overjoyed and enraged by something beyond my comprehension. What an insult. Don't screw with me or I'll fuck you up. You're as condescending as always, aren't you? You say I can't kill one little brat? Then why don't I give it a try? If I kill this fuck stain right here, that'll prove I'm better than you, won't it, Mercurius? The surging waves of murderous impulse and evaporating blood dyed my vision red. Before me stood an honest-to-goodness scumbag, a genuine monster with no constraints to hold him back. In the face of that merciless pressure, I couldn't tell whether my heart was still even beating. I would die. Ugh. His demonic arm of instant death came swift and sure. It appeared to move in slow motion, yet I could easily tell that a single hit from it would pulverize my skull. So, would I die here as just another victim? Seriously, was I really going to die right here? Tell me, have you ever experienced the sensation of foreknowledge? The prior knowledge of a certain thing. A phenomenon that assaults all senses, six included. For instance, I've witnessed this scenery before. I've tasted this wine before. I've smelled this aroma before. I've heard this song before. I've bedded this woman before. I've experienced all these things before. If so, then no bliss will ever bring joy, nor will any threat instill fear. The ability to feel moved by anything the world has to offer is the price paid for one's personal paradise. In that paradise, no one is downtrodden, no one is depraved of a thing. The world's only master is foreknowledge, a ceaseless recursion of repeating events. Yet, in the grand scheme of things, is that not a denial of the concept of time? In truth, being robbed of anything in such a state is but an impossibility. All phenomena around you die, only to be born again, repeated ad infinitum. You might think it as a water wheel. It continues to spin and spin, forever drawing and spilling water. Once you realize that this same concept constitutes the universal construct of the cosmos and its inhabitants, then what have you to fear? If your daily in your daily existence, you do not care for moments that take your breath away, for ascribing validity to foreknowledge is indeed in your very nature. You remain unlike one such as I, who craves desperately for the unknown. Now, Zarathustra, will you accept the gift I have prepared to grant your wish? Both you and her were born into this world for a similar purpose. For her to meet you, and for you to wield her. Abominable girl, cursed girl, pitiful girl, damned girl. Hate her and love her, protect her and destroy her. She is the world's singularity, a being outside the boundaries of that law. She is dead, yet she is not. She exists outside this world's concepts. Perpetual, eternal, immortal, divine, infinite, life beyond death. Evocite. To control the Ananurba, to wield it as the executioner's blade that would reap the head of this universe's law. That is Evocite. The sorcery I weave and grant to my sworn friend and his followers. But its true successor is none other than you. The very fact that I am giving her to you is firm proof of that. Indeed, for instance, take a good look at that man attempting to murder you. He, too, is yet another wielder of Evocite. One of the beast's many fangs, a man who has devoured countless souls to elevate himself above mere mortals, Yet hardly does that mean he cannot be toppled by you. The Ananurba's lust for souls. The more they kill, the more they devour, the stronger their wielders become. Yet far be it for me to claim that quantity alone can triumph over quality. Listen well, Zarathustra. What I am about to grant you is both the most wretched and most beautiful soul mankind has ever birthed. With her by your side, a mere 1,000 or two inferior souls should pose no threat whatsoever. You have my word that when you reach completion, your powers will rival even that of my own sworn friend. I shall anxiously await the coming of that day. Therefore, allow me to bestow upon you her soul, as well as the words to ignite the flames of sorcery. I have to turn on voice for this. I'm sorry, but sound settings, voice. Ah. And I wanted to hear the audio. Ah, that sucks. Halto time. for thou art fair. Within that hollow, empty space, following a moment that felt like an eternity, where a single second had been extended to last a minute, my particular conversation with the entity finally came to an end. Wilhelm's approaching fist of immediate death had barely moved from where I'd last seen it. Could I dodge it, and then launch a counterattack too? If so, then how would I do it? Both my hands and feet had been broken to hell and back. Even if I did try headbutting or biting him, I'd probably just end up hurting myself again. There was no point in trying conventional attacks. Simple punches or slashes wouldn't even put a dent in his armor. Then what would I have to do? How would I fight him? With a skill that could break through souls, with an art that could devour them, with a blade that could put an end to eternal recurrence. I'd already known them. And so, time began to move once more. Bae, what are you doing? The first thing I perceived upon returning to my senses was an intelligent yet slightly irritated sounding voice. Wilhelm stopped right in front of me, his hand frozen in the shape of a bird of prey's claw. A dark-haired girl stood next to him, holding in place the very same hand that would have decimated my entire face with ease. What are you trying to pull, Leon? Why the hell are you getting in the way of my fun? Before any of that, I prefer if you answered my question first, Lieutenant Kaziklu Bey. What in the world are you doing? What am I doing, you ask? Ain't it obvious? I'm testing him. We've got no use for a dimwit that would only get off here. Then he's passed, hasn't he? Details aside, he did survive. As for your previous question, it's because your actions are deviating from His Eminence the Divine Vessel's will. That's my answer. Furthermore, this matter has been entrusted to me. I would like you to obey my orders. Are you saying I've been placed under your command? His Eminence must have made mention of this. I won't let you feign ignorance. Would you like to hear it again from my mouth so it's easier to understand? Wilhelm's right fist made a creaking sound. His flesh, the same body I couldn't even inflict a scratch on, buckled under pressure from the girl's slender hand. I couldn't believe my eyes. You have no right to decide his fate. Any further defiance will be seen as dissent against the Obsidian Round Table. For it would appear that your honor is not your loyalty in such a case. Would you look at that? Dissent, you say? Roger, I hear you loud and clear, Missy. Can't believe I'm being lectured by someone who wasn't even born when the Obsidian Round Table was founded. But you're right. Oh, absolutely right. Honor is indeed important. Yes, it is. I've lost interest in the brat. He means nothing to me. Kill him. Let him go. Hell, go ride his cock for all I care. Do whatever you want, but why are you touching me? What? It happened so suddenly. Wilhelm struck the puzzled woman with all his wrath. Where the fuck does a subhuman brat like you get off touching me like we're buddies? Gah. At the same time, that landmine of a howl went off. The girl swept my legs and blew me away with a hit to the shoulder. The impact ravaged my internal organs, stirring up a few waves of nausea, but I was in no mood to complain. The reason was simple, because I would have died had she not done that. The brief moment I'd seen Wilhelm's overwhelming wrath was enough to make me ascertain it was the very incarnation of death. Gah. I pathetically vomited up a mixture of stomach acid and blood, realizing how much of a miracle it was that I even survived. As for them, you've done it now. You want to die, bae? That's my line. Some inbred not gonna say that word. We've already said that word by mistake. And it was due to this man the last time. God damn it. That hasn't even lived a quarter of a century has no fucking right to talk to me like that. The tension in the air was near critical levels as the two exchanged glares. What in the world were these people? Were you trying to kill him? I knew you'd rush in to stop me, cute little Leon. And I was right, wasn't I? Heh. You what? Popped a boner? Getting horny? As fellow apes, you probably want to get it on with each other, you low-like bastards. I'll just sit back and watch, so knock yourselves out. Made it out to kill you. Sure, give me your best shot. Anyways, now that their attention was no longer focused on me, I attempted to make a move. Boo! Her again. Heh. Don't make that face. I'm not gonna do anything bad to you. But hey, can I ask you something? You were trying to do something earlier, weren't you? You can't fool my eyes. I prefer it if you didn't group me in with those two steroid junkies, pretty boy. If the fight hadn't stopped when it did, what would you have done? What were you trying to do? And what would have happened? Huh, I really can't stand kids who can't read the atmosphere. That unwanted little pest prevented me from seeing something good. Still, I guess it was fun in its own way. Which is why she then placed her hand on my chest and began rubbing the wounds on my arms, legs, and the entirety of my body, almost like she was caressing them. What in the world was she? Some good old first aid treatment. Consider it my thanks for showing me something interesting. It'll make the pain go away, so make sure you actually go to a hospital later. It'd be bad for you if you tried jumping or hopping around, you see. Hey, what's up with that face? I'm being nice to you here. I could hardly tell if she was joking or being serious, but I had nothing to say. Well, whatever. I'll forgive you just this once. Sorry about earlier. I was kidding about the whole church stuff. Besides, it's not like I could actually do that. With that said, she poked the area between my eyebrows, then lowered her voice to a whisper. Let's end it here for tonight. The second she said that, I lost control of my body and collapsed onto the ground. Okay, all done. Time to clean up. Hey, you two, how long are you gonna keep messing around? I'm gonna cry my eyes out if you don't stop, and it'll be trouble if I cry. So get along, okay? With faint echoes of her indifferent voice still lingering in my mind, I finally lost consciousness. Ugh. Gah. How long have I been out for? Maybe it's only been a few minutes, or possibly a few hours. Following my sudden awakening, I realized that someone must have shaken me up. Turning around, I saw the black-haired girl, who, well, it was hard to say for sure, but it seemed like she had saved my life. She regarded me in silence, her expression visibly bored. There was no one else around. Wilhelm and the red-haired girl had already left. The body and all the blood had similarly vanished. Impossible. How was that even? Malleus handled the cleanup. Also, it seemed like Bay had lost interest in you and your friend. You don't have to worry. Is something wrong? Initially confused. God damn it, this desk. Initially confused by how exactly she had foreseen my question, I ultimately realized it couldn't have been particularly difficult. By cleanup, she was referring to the body, wasn't she? How did they get rid of it without a single No, wait, actually, I didn't want to know. No doubt having guessed my thoughts from my expression, the girl let out a sigh. If you manage to piece things together, then go home. I tell you to forget about what you've seen, but that's probably impossible. It'd actually be worse if you could forget, but we have no more business with you today. Make sure not to get in any traffic accidents. What? Is your body alright? Looks like it. You can probably get up and go home, at the very least. So what's your name? She just kept on going without any concern for my feelings. Go home? Yeah, I'd go home alright. But give my name? Why the hell would I tell you? This is about Bay. I believe I've already told you there's no need for concern. Why are you telling me to trust you? If you can think of anything I've had to gain from lying to you, I'd like to hear it. Well, that might have been true, but still. You're not going to introduce yourself? Okay, people, opinions. Give my... Okay, Themos says 1, give my name. And Sagara says 1, give my name. Okay. Give my name. Ren Fuji. I'm just a student. I considered using a fake name for a second, but in the end I didn't. I considered using... Wait. Perhaps I let my guard down because the imminent danger was gone. Or maybe I felt relieved by the fact this girl seemed to be Japanese, at least. Either way, it didn't particularly feel like a wise decision. Well, she did save my life twice, but... And you are? Feeling like I should say something, I repeated her question in a very businesslike way. Did I ever say anything about giving my own name? Don't you think you sound a bit full of yourself there? I suppose so. After shaking her head at the absurdity of it all, the girl proceeded to introduce herself. It's Kei Sakurai. It's a meaningless name anyways. Hardly anyone calls me that anymore. More importantly, go home before Bay and Malleus change their minds. I'm assuming you've had enough horrible experiences for one night. Horrible experience, yeah. Understatement of the century. I was almost killed, and above all else, that body maybe you killed them, maybe you didn't. I didn't come here by I didn't come by until afterwards, so I honestly can't say anything. They're hardcore xenophobes, though, so they don't think of you as human. And just for your information, if you keep lingering here, they might catch you again. You want that? They were quite the capricious bunch, or so the girl implied. Or would you prefer me to escort you home? Hell no. Mind your own business. Sure, I'll go home. That would be for the best. Later, Fuji. May we meet again. Yeah, right. I never want to meet or even see her ever again, if I could help it. Don't just call me by my name so casually. I turned around, spitting the words out. The girl, Sakura, remained silent, her only response a shrug of the shoulders. I found myself assailed by an intense wave of irritation. How did things come to this? I wish someone would tell me. Why did this have to? It was a miracle I made it back home in one piece after all that. I must have been unconsciously stealing myself, as nausea assaulted me the moment I passed through my front door. Unable to suppress it, I threw up all over the entryway. Even after vomiting this much, the spasm in my stomach refused to settle down. Ugh, ugh. Damn it, damn it, damn it. This had to be some sort of joke. Kasumi was going to lecture me again if she saw the mess I made. I had to do something about this before she came over in the morning to wake me up. Ugh, ugh. I held back my endless welling nausea as I cleaned up my own vomit. Halfway through, unable to hold it any longer, I threw up in the sink, but Kasumi, she was probably sleeping like a log about now. Of course, I kept eternally apologizing to her for making so much noise in the middle of the night. I'd make sure there was no stench left, so I hoped she'd forgiven me. I didn't want her to ever find out that I might have been a murderer, that I was attacked by some strange people, and that I was so pathetically scared to death right now. I knew how much of a worrywart she was. She'd probably cry her eyes out. I need Kasumi to be her usual stupid, cheerful, and smiling self, otherwise I'd lose it. So, ugh. I knew I was breaking my promise by keeping secrets from her, but I hoped she'd forgive me. I'd apologize to her eventually, probably sooner than later. With the urge to vomit up my stomach and ass, to vomit up my stomach acid gone, I wiped my mouth with my cuff. Oddly enough, there were no spurts of blood or bloodstains to be found. My wounds really had healed. She called in she called it first aid treatment, but why did it completely heal me? Man, divide common sense. I wish I could write this whole thing off as a dream, but still wrestling with those selfish thoughts, I took my tattered clothes and threw them in the trash. Then, after a minute's hesitation, I took a peek into Cosme's room through the hole in the wall. Thank God, my consciousness began to fade out, and I felt relief welling up inside of me. I think I'm gonna end it there. We can pick this up tomorrow. Okay. Well, sorry for the abrupt ending, everybody, but I gotta get something done. Wherever you are, good afternoon, good evening, good night, good morning. And wherever you are, I wish you well. I love you guys. Goodbye.